Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C., and we're talking to our good friend Philip J. Berg, lawyer of Philadelphia, of course, taking the lead in court actions before the Supreme Court and other federal courts on the question of Obama's being disqualified, not a citizen and not natural born. So, Phil, as I was just saying, the poll is 50-1 that Obama is not qualified for the presidency, and people really in all walks of life. I've heard reports from Arkansas. People were well aware of you from auto repair shops in the Washington suburbs. I mean, this is now a drumbeat on the prairie, let's say.
No, it's amazing. Someone, where was I the other day? Oh, I know. Unfortunately, I had to take my mom to the hospital. She's out now, but the doctor in the emergency room, I happened to mention, the Obama thing. Have you heard about natural born? He looks at me and says, "You were on Savage. I heard you on Savage." I'm meeting a famous person. I said, I'm not sure I'm that famous, but it is amazing. It is spreading like wildfire across this country. That's why I ask all your listeners, go to my website, read it, spread it to everyone on your address book. Tell them to read it and spread it on. Webster, I believe maybe 5, 10, 15 million people are aware of this, but we have to get it up to 50, 75, or 100 million people. When we get the bulk of the country aware of this situation, I know that the pressure will be on. Because this is really outrageous that Obama's as president and he hasn't shown us a birth certificate, an item that every one of your listeners must show 3, 4, 5, 6 times in their lifetime. From baptism records to Little League to school to driver's license to passports. Different states have different regulations, but people have to show their passports. And here we have Barack Obama refusing to basically show anything. And he's a usurper. Also, while you're on my website, ObamaCrimes.com, if you can make a contribution, we're now into I think it's our 5th month of doing this and about to go into the 6th month. And I have promised all of you, I'm doing this for over the 305 million people in this country. I'm doing this for our forefathers. And more important, I'm doing this for the tens of thousands of men and women who have died and been maimed over the years protecting our Constitution. And what's going on now is a disgrace. So if you can make a contribution to see if we can identify with Webster's show, send us either $14 or $54, get a few friends together for $54, or send us $14 individually, then we'll know. And please, it's so important. This case is really, and not because I'm involved, but it turns out that I'm the director of the ship on this one, this case is probably one of the most significant cases in the history of our country, and we must follow this. We must follow it to the end. The Constitution must be followed.
Now, Phil, we're always looking for somebody who might have standing, and the one that you mentioned there, I think, was interesting. It's a military judge. As I understand it, it's a military officer. He's an army colonel or something like this, or a Navy commander, whatever he is. And he is one of the judges for the Guantanamo Bay inmates on these military trials under the previous regime. And Obama sent a communication to these people saying, please stop these for 120 days or something like this. And the guy said, no, I won't do it. Now,
right, I'm reading it right here. It's the judge is an Army Colonel James Pohl, P-O-H-L, and he is the one, he states that the public interest is in a speedy trial. And it's now being reviewed by the Pentagon and the White House. But he is basically defying the president, and I give him a lot of credit for doing that. He's doing that what the retired Colonel Gregory Hollister is doing as a retired, because on a active duty, he can be court-martialed. So we'll have to watch and see what happens.
Right. Well, maybe I would do everything possible to make sure that he is specifically informed that one of the tactics that he would have in his quiver is also to say, and by the way, you're not President of the United States, so don't tell me what to do.
Maybe he's doing that. And also, we will be following shortly another action of quo warranto, which is against the states that the person in office is not justified to be in that office. Now, I have a big mouth because I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and 2 other attorneys in the country have already filed a quo warranto. But ours will be right to the point. One of the attorneys filed it with like 5 or 6 other items involved. We're going to be very direct. We have, I'm very proud to say, since last August when I got involved, we have stayed very focused on here. We're going right down the line what we want. Other attorneys are claiming that this judge didn't do that, or this talk show didn't do that, or we should boycott a talk show host or boycott a product. Those points, ladies and gentlemen, they just take us away and hurt the main issue. The only issue here is Barack Obama qualified? Is he eligible to be president? If not, we must do everything we can to have him removed. These other issues, which might sound good when you hear them, just as far as I'm concerned, take the ball off of what the real goal is. And the real goal here is to find out if he's qualified or not, and I really believe he's not.
Now, the other person who would have had standing, I think, would have been Blagojevich. And Blagojevich was now railroaded, and I'd be interested to hear what you think of this, right? He was put on trial in front of the Illinois State Senate, but with no legal process, no witnesses, no nothing, no cross-examination. And if you look at the bill of impeachment, he's not impeached because of what Fitzgerald says about him, at least not only that, but they've got all these other points, right, that you disregarded the legislature on getting cheap prescriptions from Canada and stuff like this. And they cobbled that together into a bill of impeachment, but they never let him have witnesses. And it always occurred to me, if he was going to be put on trial, he'd say, I called Obama. First question, what's your name? Second question, where were you born? Third question, what country are you a citizen of, dear Obama, right? Either deposition in the room or deposition in the White House, right? Whatever the Paula Jones precedents are.
Well, we're gonna follow up on that, and I'm looking forward to, on the case that's under seal, I think that'll give me the vehicle to proceed for extensive discovery, and I'm going to ask to schedule his deposition. I can't wait to get him under oath, because that, I think, will be the downfall of him. You know they're going to oppose me. They're going to say he can't, and he's too busy, and this and that.
They'll say, you're not Paula Jones.
Right. Well, and I think this case is a lot more significant.
Absolutely.
And I will tell them that I'm available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'll take his deposition at 3 in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, whatever he wants. And if they want it, at their law offices, his attorney's office in Washington, fine. If they want it in his the White House, I will be available. So I look forward to that, and maybe at that point, maybe the press will wake up and say, hey, what's going on here?
Well, I hope they do. I mean, it really is amazing that the Globe has had coverage of this issue now, these two issues out of the 4 in January featuring you, and then also in previous issues, and of course the New York Times, Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, Chicago Tribune.
I think the Globe has covered this in about 5 different issues.
Minimum.
So now they get more and more coverage. I mean, this coverage is phenomenal. They have the front cover. In addition to the front cover, they have the inside centerfold story and 2 pages after that. They have 4 full pages discussing this, and they really go into it. And the article is an excellent article, and people, believe it or not, what they're saying in there is very, very true. And Barack Obama has a lot of explaining to do.
Absolutely right. Well, thank you very much, Phil. Again, that website is obamacrimes.com, and go there and give a contribution to keep this work going, because you can see this is not exactly a voice crying in the wilderness when you're constantly on the front page of what I think is the biggest supermarket tabloid with, 2 million copies, I think, they sell. Much more than the New York Times, that's for sure.
Well, that's good, and aside from the copies they sell, people just read it in line, and people see it, and they click the story up. So
right.
We're moving up the ladder here, but everyone, go to my website, spread it to everyone in your address book, and ask them to spread it out. And I thank you, Webster, for being on.
And there's our theme song. We thank Phil Berg. Come back next week, as always. This has been World Crisis Radio, and we wish everyone best of luck until the next time, and fight the Wall Street hyenas. If you're not fighting finance capitalists, you're spinning your wheels. See you next week.